Hey folks, what's going on? It's me, Andrew Westmoreland, back again with another stream. I have been away for a while on purpose. There's just not been anything new for me to contribute. There's obviously always something to talk about, but I've been just kind of doing my own thing. So, one of the most talked about situations has been the Leah Thomas debacle. And I've been mostly avoiding it just because everyone's been talking about it, but I just wanted to briefly touch on this because I don't think people understand, this what everyone's talking about. I just want to show you this image. This is from one of the latest um, swim meets. Let me let me make sure I'm on the right screen here. Share. As you can see here, on the left is so-called Leah Thomas, and on the right of this image is, second, third, and fourth place, the female swimmers versus the male swimmer. And it's been really interesting because, you have a lot of activists and stuff be like, trans women are women and all this stuff. And it's like, okay, but it's because you're changing the definition of terms. And we keep going through this over and over and over again as if, you know saying something is true, uh, makes it so, and it's like, no, not really. No, not really. And I've gotten to this point now where we can only talk about so much on social media because of the censorship is at an all-time high, and anything that you say that is against the approved narrative is just outright censored. So just understand that when people try to talk about this stuff, it's very difficult. And I to pretend like we have free speech rights in America is just, it's laughable. It's very obvious that this person is not a female. They are towering above the actual females. And this, just look at this image. This individual is like 6'5", broad shoulders, very masculine. It just looks like a man with long hair, a young male with long hair. I don't even see breasts in this image. Okay. Now, let me see if I could pull up some other images here because, again, I just want to talk about this briefly. We've talked about trans issues, extensively. So, I'm looking at these images. I'm trying to find a good one. I mean, oh, here's the one I was showing somebody recently. Now, it just, I don't know about you, but when I see this, I mean, you could see, I'm not trying to be rude. It's too early. It's too early in the morning to be rude. But when you look at this image, you can clearly see testicles. Okay. And there are no breasts. It looks like a man in a swimsuit with long hair. And I'm not, again, not trying to be rude. I, that's what I see, and that's what the average person would see. And in fact, if nobody knew anything about this and they were just shown this image, I guarantee you they'd be like, "Okay, that's a dude in a leotard. That's a dude in a female swimsuit. Like, what's?" I'm confused. Like, what is this? mean. Anyway, oh yeah, they say they're trans, and I don't know. I don't think this person, Leah, so-called Leah Thomas, has had any cosmetic surgeries. I do believe there are some kind of estrogen and testosterone blockers, uh, but clearly they have not transitioned very far. So, I again, I just bring this stuff up because it's interesting, and we need to understand that we are being ran by demonic forces. Okay, and I don't mean that again to disparage people or anything like that. It's just when we're looking at these situations, we're looking at how society has been, radically changed. It's not for the better. And I do see that my connection is wonky. Unfortunately, there's not much I can do. We are upgrading the internet here at this site, so hopefully, at sometime in the future, this is going to improve. Let me see if I can close out some of these things. Should help the connection a little bit. Yeah, I think it's improving. All right. So just basically, what I was trying to say with the whole Leah Thomas situation before the connection started acting stupid, and it's still acting stupid. Listen, I think this is a situation, a spiritual battle, because I heard this really interesting point the other day watching, I believe it was You Are Here with Elijah Schaefer and Sydney Watson. And I believe that their guest said something about this is a spiritual battle, and these are spiritually deceased. These people are soulless individuals, these activists, these politicians, this everybody who's pushing these weird agendas that are clearly antithetical to a successful society. Uh, that yeah, they're spiritually dead, and they are the point that this person made was that basically they deny the existence of God, or that they do not believe that God has any sway over them, and they're inserting themselves as a deity, as a God. This connection is terrible. I'm just going to try to muddle through this and hope that it stabilizes itself. But again, and I thought it was a really good point that these people are basically trying to create their own God. They're trying to insert themselves as their own God. And I'm not a religious person, and I like to repeat that regularly for people who maybe don't know me. But I like to say that I am spiritual, and I think that I am spiritual to certain degrees. And, I'm not an atheist. I don't think I've ever been an atheist. There's just too much splendor and wonder and um, awesomeness in this reality for me to just say that, yeah, it just randomly happened. It doesn't make sense to me. And, people assert that, and I'm just like, there's just so much that has clearly been designed. And I'm not talking about like you could look down uh, at the cellular level and be like, oh, it's organized, therefore design. I'm just saying, like, people are taking these things far to surface level, and they're not diving into. Wow, this connection is really pissing me off. Come on, connection stabilize. There's no excuse for this. Honestly, it's just pissing me off at this point. But for me, I mean, you can take the most basic of actions, and it's a planned action. Just simply allowing the Big Bang to happen, and the universe created is a design to me, because it could be Big Bang happened and there's just an explosion and then it fizzles out and then that's it. That's not what happened. You know, the For everything to happen, for me to be here right now, sitting in front of this camera on this really crappy internet connection, billions and billions of years, like 14 billion years is the scientific estimate. For this to happen, everything leading up to this point, it's just the odds of it just being a chance by some natural phenomenon does not make sense to me. It's the odds of that being a thing makes no sense. So I'm not going to pretend like I know, if what deity is real or whatever. I've talked about that in depth. I think that there are multiple gods that are real. Even if we want to take a Christian standpoint, even in the Bible, it doesn't deny that these gods are fake. It just says that you should not have any other gods before me. It does talk about idols and false gods, but you know there are other deities out there. If you were to basing it on Christianity, and I always thought that was fascinating. Now, for me, my personal stance is like these are powerful spirits, or who have ascended to a certain level of power, to where they have been deified. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say which religion is closest to the truth, or whatever. But I know that there is something that created everything. There is a creator being that is so far beyond us in intellect and technology and power, uh, you know 12th 13th dimensional being that's so complex that we can't even begin to understand what this being is. But down here right now, when I see these situations where basic fundamental reality is just being ignored or just being outright denied delusionally, saying that a man is now a woman just because they say so. Never mind the fact that people who take certain, chemicals and hormones or cosmetically change themselves, it seems demonic. It does not seem There's nothing natural about that. It's frankly it's quite upsetting. It's shocking to me that people do this to themselves, and now society is widely accepting this. I'm not one of these extremists who say, all these, I'm not even going to say it, but think these crazy things. I just think that we shouldn't accept it. It's just like, hey, you know, if you present yourself and you're in passing, nobody's going to think twice about it. But if you're very clearly and obviously not what you're claiming to be, then do not expect anyone else to accept that. That's to understand. All right. Now, let's get into the Ukraine biolab situation. Now, if you haven't seen in recent news this last week, if you have, I really apologize for this connection. It's not going to get any better until they upgrade to cable. Is basically what my internet is getting beamed from the main building over here. So hopefully we get an actual line connection. Anyway, so last week we had this story drop about Ukraine biolabs, and let me be very clear about that. It dropped in America, okay? Putin has been talking about this for years. Russia has been talking about these biolabs in Ukraine for years, and again, the U.S. media is complete trash. There is no good media in America. I'm being serious here. It's easy for us, we rag on like far left news, Fox, MSNBC, CNN, and BuzzFeed, and all this other crap. Yeah, we know they're trash, but the conservative media in America isn't even touching on this because America is so isolated and cut off from the rest of the world. We have no clue. We don't know anything. We don't know anything. The things that like we pretend that America's high and mighty, and we're delusional. We stopped being the dominant power in the world a while ago, and I think we need to start accepting that. I'm not saying accepting it like do nothing about it to change our circumstance. I'm just saying like you need to accept reality so that we can fix this problem. If you want America, your quality of life and all those things that come with being the dominant superpower in the world, we have to maintain that. Let's just be real. There's so much I can get into. I could talk about this for hours, but we've been lied to so much now that everybody believes these lies. And it's like anytime I see anything on the news at this point, I assume that it's a lie. They are not telling us the truth. And then we have to go back where we try to verify it. And for years, I fought that and fought that and fought that in my head. I was like, no, we have to come at this with trust and understanding and positivity, and just be like, no, most people are good and most people are trying to do the right thing, and we have to accept this as fact. And during the Trump presidency and whatnot, and then this last year and a half with Biden, well, 2 years now, it's gotten to a point where you're not going to convince me that these people are not intentionally lying. It's to call it propaganda is calling a wildfire, a brush fire that's destroying thousands of acres of forest. Oh, it's just like a dumpster fire. It's like no. Like this is like an orders of magnitude beyond propaganda at this point. It's so insidious and evil what these people have been doing that there isn't a word for it, and it's on every level. So it's so ingrained in society at this point that again, any piece of media that's American that you're reading is probably not true, at least on some level. And people for decades have been talking about, oh, the CIA, infiltrated the major alphabet news agencies and stuff, and most people are like, yeah, whatever, that's not true. But then all these leaks come out. There's congressional testimony from CIA directors and assistant directors and stuff, and they're just like, oh yeah, that was a real project back in the 60s and 70s, and it's like pretty much at this point anything that is labeled a conspiracy theory is like 95% of the time going to be true. And I know a lot of people, like, it's a hard place to be at because people say some really crazy stuff. But I think you can shave off layers, right? What I mean by 95% of these conspiracy theories are true is anything that the establishment does not like that threatens their power or their influence or their money, they automatically say it's a conspiracy theory because it threatens them. That's really it. Now, when people say like Hillary Clinton and the Queen of England is a lizard person and they're reptilians or whatever, it's like, okay, peel back the layers of the crazy. That's like, what is it? What is the term? Opposition, forced opposition, planned I can't think of the term, but they are, basically paid opposition or whatever. They're not really, opposing the mainstream narrative. They're trying to muddy the waters. So you peel back the layers and you start understanding that there is some measure of truth to what these people are saying. That's why I say about 95% of these things are true. When it comes to the Ukraine situation, almost all, 90% of the media in America was saying there are no bioweapons labs in Ukraine. It's like, okay, but that's not really what people were saying. Now, Putin may have been saying that, but we are saying, yes, we know there's like 25 biolabs, biological research labs in Ukraine, and that are funded by America. That is a fact. It is a documented fact. We have the Freedom of Information documents that show that Ukraine was receiving funding from the United States Department of Defense to fund these biolabs. Okay. And I have to tell you this too, that everything that you see, you have to take it with a grain of salt. I don't care who is promoting this. I believe Global Times is either Chinese ran or Russian ran, or one of these other nations. But this map is, I believe, this is a Russian. This is from Russian Defense Ministry. So again, any nation, I don't care if it's Russia, if it's Iran, if it's China, if it's America, if it's Canada, anything they put out, just assume that it is fabricated, it is doctored, it is propaganda. So please do not assume that I am somehow on the side of Russia or whatever. I don't give a damn about Russia. I'm not Russian. I have no interest in Russia specifically, like their politics or whatever. But this is a source from them showing that this is the map of these biolabs. Again, take it with a grain of salt. But my understanding is that it has been independently verified by so many different layers of people, so many different journalists and researchers and internet sleuths, that yes, there are roughly, it's like 25, 26 of these biolabs in America. Okay, so this says 26. Okay. Now, the interesting part about this, is that when you comb through the documents, I'm talking about the government documents, the U.S. The Department of Defense documents. It's basically alluding that they are essentially stockpiling Soviet era biological agents, pathogens, highly dangerous pathogens from the Soviet era, and they're studying them for health and safety. And it's like, okay, we've heard this story, in Wuhan and all these other different places. There was a situation in Georgia, I believe. I don't think it was directly the CDC. I believe it was an independent company out of Georgia that had some of these pathogens, not necessarily from Ukraine or Soviet era, but we had our own stuff here in America, and mysteriously, like 30 people died who worked at this lab, and they covered it up and pretended like, oh, they just died for whatever reason, unknown causes. And it's like, okay, if 30 people die at a bio research lab, I think it's safe to say that they were exposed to some kind of pathogen and they died as a direct result of it. Uh, the next layer to this situation with Ukraine, these biolabs, is okay. I understand on paper. I understand what they're trying to say, that you have to study these pathogens to know how to stop them for the future. If they get if they're released to the public, but we've had multiple situations now where it looks like these pathogens were accidentally, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, accidentally leaked from these labs. The workers were exposed to pathogens and somehow got out, and we've had these outbreaks or epidemics, and the last one, the pandemic. Okay, but if you have been spending years and years, decades even, on some of these pathogens, researching them to make it safer for everybody, then why did it take so long for you to even put out a vaccine? A vaccine which by normal, previous definitions was not actually a vaccine. It was more like a prophylactic, kind of thing. It kind of helped uh, lower your risk and chances. They changed the definition of vaccine for this. We can go into all this for hours. The list of these things just doesn't make sense, and you're like, okay, so you're supposed to be protecting us by having, by stockpiling and studying these biological pathogens, and like, where's the results? Like, where is the protection that we're supposed to be getting from this? In fact, it just seems like you're just raising the risk that these things keep getting released. There's even speculation, again, I can't really confirm this one, but there were biolabs in Sierra Leone in Africa, and the other surrounding countries. My world geography is a little rusty, but the countries that were surrounding them when they had that Ebola outbreak, it was like, that's interesting. And that's something I just learned recently when I was trying to research this stuff, these biolabs. Apparently, there were biolabs in Sierra Leone where the Ebola outbreak took place. So, again, correlation is not equal causation, but it is something definitely to look at. And then after a certain point, though, you have to start asking these questions, because it's just like sands, grains of sand is building up into a heap. You know, the snowflakes are piling up on the mountain, and it's starting to become an avalanche. You have to start asking these questions. So, from a geopolitical conversation, Russia is east, the right side of the screen, right, of this map. That's Russia to the right. If you're Russia and Ukraine is, a former Soviet nation, or half of it was a former Soviet Union nation. They are very buddy with Europe and America West now, and you're getting to this point where they're super friendly, and now they have all these bio labs that have all of these extremely dangerous pathogens that, for some reason, are not being destroyed. Now, my understanding is there are two treaties, one in the 40s or 50s, and then one in the 90s that says that, if you find these weapons or these patents are acquired, they need to be just essentially. Well, that's not really hard to do, right? You should be able to incinerate them or whatever, expose them to UV rays and all these other different ways to kill pathogens. Instead, they're stockpiling them for science. Okay. And the Western powers are like, oh, there are no biolabs, there are no bioweapons labs in Ukraine. It's like, okay, well, we're not necessarily calling them weapons labs, but I thought it was like 3 or 4 labs in the entire country. There's 26. Again, looking at this map. Again, looking at this map. The entire country of Ukraine is littered with these biological labs right next to Russia. I'm not gonna pretend that going to war is ethical, or and YouTube's terms of service changes like every other day. So I can't advocate for violence, or you'll be labeled a Putin apologist and all this stuff. But if Canada or Mexico, let's just say Canada, so I can't be accused of being racist, even though I'm a brown person of color. But let's say Canada just all of a sudden just, they have 50 bio research labs all of a sudden, and they're not our close ally. Let's say they're not our close ally. Yeah, we're going to be concerned. Well, let's say Europe is adversarial to America, and Canada is like really close with Europe now, and yeah, of course they have all these biological labs right next to our country, I think we're going to have some problems with that. Again, not encouraging or apologizing or sympathizing with using military force, but at the same time, like, come on, man. At a certain point, you have to see this and think that it is possible that this is a main cause for why Putin has invaded the Ukraine. That is just one aspect of this. You're saying that audio is trash. Yeah, again, I can't really do anything about that right now. We are upgrading the internet here, so hopefully I'll actually get fiber optic cable instead of getting my internet beamed back and forth from the main building. So that's not much I can do about that at the moment. um, Lance Corporal Veteran says, hello, good morning. It's interesting we keep finding these government-funded biolabs around the world that were public knowledge, but we are all called conspiracy theorists whenever it became convenient. Yes. And it's like, I keep trying to tell people this because it's hard for people to understand. You have to understand that most people do not know what we know. If you're watching this, you probably are on a similar wavelength as me. You're probably a lot more informed than the average person, and you're, you know, awake. To the average person, like the world that is presented in the media, by the government, by establishment, by the elites, whatever, that's their reality. They think that's real. But the second anyone does real research and looks into these things, they start to understand that everything that they have been told is a lie. When I mean everything, I mean, like, not literally everything, but for the most part, everything that you can learn, like education wise, or just in general, like history and stuff. All this stuff is a lie to a certain degree. Most people don't even know the basic history of Ukraine and Russia. I didn't know. Why would I know? We're spoiled Americans in our little bubble, our little filter bubbles and echo chambers. We're in the American echo chamber. We don't really know much about a lot of these things. Now, some of us obviously are more interested in that, and we look it up. But when I started doing some, like, surface level, like, I still need to take hours and hours, days, weeks studying this stuff, to be honest. I think it would be interesting to look into, but just basic surface level, 30 minutes of reading from doing internet searches, you understand that Eastern Ukraine was a part of Russia not very long ago. And just pretending like, oh my gosh, Russia is just invading them for absolutely no reason at all. Putin's a madman. Putin's insane. It's like you're not being honest. You're being very dishonest here. You're not even trying to figure out why. I guarantee you 99% of the people who are freaking out about what's happening in Ukraine and putting these little flags up, the Ukrainian flags, and I stand with Ukraine and pray for Ukraine, have not even listened to one of Putin's speeches about why he's doing this. I guarantee it. I would I would bet my entire net worth on it. That most, again, 99%, like almost nobody knows. Ask them. Have you actually listened to Putin's speeches? Any of his recent speeches? They're about 20 minutes long. Has anyone actually listened to what he's saying? I'm not even talking about believing him. I'm not saying you side with him. I'm not saying any of that stuff. I'm saying simply listen to what he's saying. There are plenty of sources. You can find it. Now, no American sources dares place Putin speeches because the current political climate is just pure insanity. Like, I don't think we're going to make it. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't think we're going to make it as a nation. We're just too far gone. You know, I think we've already lost. But if you're one of these people hanging on for dear life for sanity, and you want to be one of these people who are part of a resistance, of a true resistance, when that time comes, you need to know what's going on. But it's becoming increasingly more impossible. And why I haven't been covering this Ukraine Russia stuff consistently is because I have no fucking idea what's happening. I have no clue what's going on. And I cannot find a single person who actually knows what's going on in Russia and Ukraine, because none of us know what's going on. All we know is that two Slavic nations are involved in a military conflict. Yeah, I'm saying we know some surface level stuff, but any of these videos you're seeing, for the most part, you don't really know what's going on. You just see military conflict. You don't know the context. You don't know the when. You don't know the where. You don't know the why. Everything that we're receiving is being filtered down through like 5 layers of propaganda. So please, for the love of Christ, for the love of the Creator, please do not believe anything you're seeing in regards to this situation. Okay? I keep telling people, war happens constantly around this planet. People are genocided constantly, and nobody gives a fuck in the West. Now, all of a sudden, because the Democrats are faking, fawning and faking tears for Ukraine, all of a sudden now we're supposed to be weeping and praying for Ukraine, and let's go to war against Russia because they're bad. All of a sudden, when you didn't care about the like 5 other genocides that happened in the last 10 years, but now you care about this one. Like, I don't believe these people. um they're not honest, they're not genuine. These people are, they're just fake. They're like NPC zombies, and I don't they're soulless drones. They're incapable of independent thought. So again, of course there are reasons why Putin decided to invade Ukraine. We're just pretending like, well, in the West, like the establishment is just pretending like Putin's just completely insane, and he's lost his mind, and he's threatening nuclear strikes, and there's no absolutely no reason at all. It's like, dude, I don't even want to say do a 5 minute Google search, because Google is completely off its rocker. Okay. In fact, let me see if I can do this. I'm going to show you. Google Ukraine biolabs, and let me show you what pops up. The Intercept from 3 days ago. Russia is lying about evidence of bioweapons labs in Ukraine. The Guardian, how Ukrainian bioweapons labs myth went from QAnon fringe to Fox News. Al Jazeera, West dismisses Russian claims of bioweapons in Ukraine. Newsweek, Trump ally Roger Stone sides with Putin, claims Russia acting defensively. Independent, what are Ukraine biolabs, and why have they become a focus for Fox News and the U.S. right? I mean, it just keeps, there's just more and more and more. Foreign policy, Russian biolab propaganda on Ukraine spreads on QAnon channels. It's just like, at a certain point, at a certain point, anything that you see in the news, you need to just completely disregard. It's not real. Whatever they're saying is probably the opposite. And you basically need to work yourself backwards. So whatever they claim, just assume it's the opposite. And then if you're really interested in the story and you want to know, you start doing research. Okay. You can start with their articles. I'm not saying dismiss them outright. You can start with their propaganda. And usually what happens is they'll put the title, and then you go down to the bottom of the article, and then they'll tell you, for the most part, to some degree, what's really happening. Or it'll be like one sentence in this like big ass article that'll give you the real information. And it sucks, but this is what we have to deal with. We have to. That's the only way we're going to get some semblance of truth. The Hunter Biden laptop scandal that happened in October of 2020 during the Trump Biden election. We were all saying the same thing. I mean, the facts were in. It came in. It's verified. It's true as true can be. That you can trust anybody. We knew that this was real. The photos are leaked. Videos are leaked. It's like, yes, that's Hunter Biden. This they're claiming it came from this laptop, and they're like, no, that's hacked material. That's not, or it's not real, or it's it's photoshopped, and it's deep faked, and people are getting banned. People were getting suspended. What was it? New York Post got suspended off Twitter and Facebook. The longest standing publications in America, older than New York Times and all these other ones. New York Post has been around for hundreds of years, and they're getting banned. I think that's really interesting. I guess they just happened to do it because the last time we had an October surprise, Hillary Clinton email scandal dropped, and Trump won, so we can't ever let that happen again. It's like after a certain point, you have to be completely delusional to not see what's been happening. That we don't have a country anymore. There is no such thing as the United States of America. It is the divided states of America that has been, the coup happened long ago, and it's just been slowly but surely consolidating more and more power to these wealthy elites, these people who actually took over. We have this illusion of a democratic system, the illusion that we have freedom in this country. It's not real. And the sooner people start to understand that, the sooner we can actually do something about it. Because as I tell people, you know, lead by example, right? I should do the things that I advocate for. But I always tell people, it's like, no, I don't encourage people to go out and do something that is deemed as crazy, because you're one person. And if one person goes out and does this thing, then what? You're just crazy. I also try to tell people too that, that 1776 or Second Amendment option is, we don't even have to do that. You can just simply just have 10 million people who make their voices known. They physically go out and, you know, blockade Congress, or, houses of legislation, and your state and federal levels. You can do all these different things by protesting. You don't even have to use weapons, and guns don't even need to be included, and we can end this in a week. It's just that everybody is so fucked in the head, and we're so cucked out and beta. We think that these are our leaders. These are our kings. We can't possibly stand up to this level of military might and power. They'll just carpet bomb us with the fighter jets, and send Apache helicopters, and mortar attack us, and worst case scenario, whole city is too out of control. They'll just nuke us. It's like, it's not going to happen, dude. You're not going to convince me that that's going to happen. It's only going to happen, and as far as, it'll be little pockets here and there. And yes, sacrifices always happen in these situations, but they're not going to go all out war against American people, because if a truly peaceful movement just all of a sudden gets a swarmed by the state, it's going to be a wrap. You're going to have people from sea to shining sea grabbing whatever weapons they have, and anybody in any government authority position is going to be a target, and it'll be the worst and probably the most brief uh, uh, rage blitzkrieg of a populist revolution ever seen in history, because we are the most armed modern society ever in all of history. I I'm just saying there are so many different things that people can do to make our lives better and to take our power back that do not involve violence. For the most part, I just offer people ideas. What else can I do? All I can do is offer people ideas. I can try to give you some semblance of knowledge, hopefully give you some place of sanity, of stability, to where you know that you're not alone, that you're not insane, that you're not crazy. But this connection absolutely makes me go crazy. Let's see if it's going to stabilize. All right, I think it's doing a little better. What else? What else has been happening that is just like obviously a lie? Just completely adding this into the conversation. You know, the Biden administration was talking about, oh, gas prices are so high because of Putin, and inflation is so high because of Putin. And anyone who's even remotely being honest is like, bro, the prices have been going up for like 2 years now. Inflation has been going up for 2 years, ever since, you know, primarily Democrats shut down the economy. Some Republicans did too, like governors and mayors and stuff, but primarily Democrats shut down the US economy, and we're still feeling the effects of this. And I've talked about this so many times now. I don't even know. It's just, you start going insane because you're like, dude, I've been talking about this for a year and a half at least, that there are going to be unforeseen consequences of shutting down the economy, something that no country in the world has ever done before, ever. And they've been worse pandemics. Like the last three pandemics were significantly worse than COVID ever was. And they never shut down their economy, because the economy is life. It is everything. It is how we eat. It is how we power our homes. It's how we do everything is part of this economy. And the fact they're just like, oh, you can't go to work anymore. It's like, bro, we had no clue what was going to happen. I knew our economy would be fucked, and it would take a while, a year, 2 years, for it to slowly catch up to the damage they've done, permanent damage, long-term damage, 10, 20 years of damage. And here we are. And now we're at the point now when we're seeing that, inflation is a part of the situation. That's mostly due to them pumping billions, if not no, it was trillions of dollars into the market. They just printed it out of nothing, doubling the money supply in the last few years. But the gas prices are going up primarily because of Biden. And people who are telling you otherwise are not being honest with you. He shut down the Keystone Pipeline. He, along with, activists and Democrat, um, I don't know how to call it, politicians and operatives, or whatever you want to call them, have been successfully suing to block fossil fuel explorations and digging and drilling and mining and that sort of thing in many places. So it's lowered our ability to be self-sustaining. We were almost entirely uh, uh, energy independent under Trump. Now we are not energy independent. There's so many different things we could talk about here. The fact that, I mean, we could very well see gas prices reach eight to $10, which is just, I mean, that's apocalypse level. Let's be completely honest about that. that's going to destroy, like, we're going into an economic depression if gas prices hit eight to $10 a gallon. That's an economic depression, and the average person is not going to be able to deal with that. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to pay $100 to fill up my gas tank, because I have to drive to work. I can't work, a city over anymore. I'm going to have to work locally. Let's just be real about that. Most people are not going to be able to just take that burden. Another unforeseen consequence of just ineptitude by Biden. Uh, Let me be very clear about this. Biden is not responsible for all of our woes. Let's just be very clear about that. That's retarded. Anyone who says that is just stupid. They're retarded. There's a combination of failure that is cascaded throughout generations in American politics, unforeseen consequences. This idea that you can export all of our jobs overseas, you can export our manufacturing overseas, our medical industry, our pills and medicines and stuff being made in China, like 80-90% of our medications made in China. Retarded. The next level of thing, I just like stopped and I just started laughing. And I'm just like, dude, we're fucked. We produce nothing here. The story was 96% 96% of the fertilizer that America uses comes from, ding, 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 Russia. 96% of our fertilizer comes from Russia, and that has been cut off. So, what do you think is going to happen in about 6 months when the effect of not having uh, almost all of our fertilizer just is cut off? Well, I mean, let's be real. We don't necessarily need the fertilizer to grow crops, but we use it to enhance the quality and the crop yields. So the estimates that I was seeing from like farmer sources, farmer publications, they were suggesting that we could have 40 to 50% reduction in crop yields. What does that mean? That just basically means we're not going to get, half of our food is just not going to be there because it wasn't produced. Half, almost half of our food is just not going to exist in 6 months. So in the fall, what's going to happen? And I hope you're paying attention. Like, I know some people just play this in the background, but if you're listening, please focus on what I'm saying to you. This is not a joke. This is not an exaggeration. This is being reported like in the background. So many different levels now. It is like 100% confirmed. There is no way to stop this. It's too late. In the fall, we will not have about half of the food that we produce here in America. Now, we do import a lot of food, but understand that half of the food will not be there. That means the prices of the food that we do produce is going to skyrocket uncontrollably. I heard something like double the amount. Okay, it could be more, it could be 3 times the amount, because the supply will not be there. It'll be cut in half, and the demand will stay the same, if not increase artificially. As people start panicking, they want to gather up as much, hoard whatever they can. Demand will skyrocket, supply will plummet, and we're just. I'm trying to tell people. People think, they keep telling me I'm exaggerating. Oh, you're dramatic, or you're just fear mongering. I'm like, dude, I don't know what to tell you, but if you don't start preparing now for the hard times that are coming, we're already been in hard times, but if you haven't been preparing and you're not interested in preparing, please, please do not come to me when you're like, well, shit, he's been right for the last 5 years. I've been watching him. He's been right the last 2 years during COVID or whatever. I've been wrong on a couple things. I didn't think Russia would invade Ukraine. I was really wrong in that. But then again, that's part of my fault for not, studying the situation more closely and understanding why Putin decided to invade Ukraine. So yeah, coming this fall and winter, it's going to be bad. And I don't see a way out of this. Biden has basically drained the strategic oil reserves by trying to pump all that oil into the market, so keeps gas prices at a stable level. But once that gas is out, which should be any day now, really, gas price has been floating around $4 a gallon. It's just skyrocket again. So it's a temporary fix. It's not a permanent solution. A permanent solution would be to be energy independent. We need more nuclear power here in America. We need, clean coal, which it sounds like an oxymoron, but we do have technology to filter a lot of these coal processing plants. Okay, there are more coal plants than anything in America. America is ran on coal. If you did not know that, and you've probably driven past one if you're one of the types who travel decently. That is a weird looking truck. It's like a 18 wheeler, but the cabin. I'm sorry, this is completely random. It was an 18 wheeler, but the cabin was like cut in half. It was like only half a cabin, and like it did weird. I don't know. I've never seen anything like that. It's weird. But you've probably seen a coal plant thinking it was something else, and it's just like, oh, it's just white smoke and steam. It's like, no, that was a coal plant because we have the technology to make it clean. It's not burning, black smoke anymore. I'm not gonna pretend like it's 100%. It's still pumping carbon in the atmosphere and stuff like that, but it is what it is. It's better than what we had. We can do so much. We can open up the Keystone Pipeline. We can do other stuff, um, and it doesn't mean we can't continue to try to develop cleaner energy. More renewable resources. It just means that right now we don't have the luxury of trying to be like, oh, we're gonna be environmentalists, 100% savvy, and like I'm sorry, but I'm never gonna support shooting myself in the foot just so I could virtue signal and feel like I'm doing a good thing. It's like we have to survive, dude. Most of the other nations around the world are not doing what we're doing. We're shooting ourselves in the foot just to feel like we're righteous or something. Like it's ridiculous. We can do better. And it really just starts with getting the right people in office. but but at this point, it's like it's too late on that. Like, wouldn't you all agree? Like, I feel like it's too late as a nation that we're gonna have to fracture. We're gonna have to split up into at least two nations, probably four to five would make more sense. Like, have regional nations, and just hope that China and Russia don't, try to exploit that. I don't know. Um, what else we got? Uh, Putin basically said that he demanded he wants what do you call it, Alaska back, and he wants parts of California. And I jokingly told my friends, I was like, yeah, he can take California. I don't claim my home state, my birth state anymore. They're on their own. Um, but jokingly, of course. Alaska we purchased from Russia, so you're not getting that back. Though I will tell you this, like if people know anything about Alaska, it's like one of the least populated states. They don't even have 1 million people living there. There are limited military bases, and I really think that if Russia really wanted Alaska, they could just take it because most of the settlements in Alaska are coastal, um, and they're concentrated. There's like three major cities or towns in Alaska. The rest are just like villages. Like 20 people live here, and there's like no infrastructure. And they're living in almost third world conditions. Like people don't understand how rugged Alaska is. You just invade it and you Alaska. I mean, we're not doing anything anyway. I'm not saying they should. Damn you, connection. think it's stabilizing. But yeah, I'm not saying that they shouldn't invade Alaska, but they easily could. Um, but that's all out war situation, and I just hope that we avoid that. This infuses cipher. I am surprised Russia hasn't declared war on us yet, and I 100% agree because I think it was your channel. We were talking about, or I watched your video. You were watching my stream or video, and we're basically on the same wavelength. But yeah, everything that America is doing in response to Russia invading Ukraine is basically an act of war. Like, I understand as a nation, or governments, nations, have conflict and stuff, and sometimes the global politics, you have to do something, right? A simple denouncement isn't enough, but you're either all in or not at all, because this, like, putting your little toe in the water and pretending like, oh, we're not oh, we're not involved. It's like, dude, you're fucking with the bear. Like, you're giving their direct military adversary, they're actively in combat in war, and you're giving them military grade weapons. I know some people hate that term, but like, military grade, no, like bombs. They're giving them munitions, explosives, missiles, okay, and guns, obviously. You're arming the enemy, and we're not involved. Oh, we're not going to get involved. It's like, you are involved, dude. And then the economic sanctions. It's like, you are trying to destroy their economy. You're essentially could potentially cause a famine in Russia of people. Like, acts of war. This isn't just something like, oh, just kidding, we're not doing anything. It's like, no, dude. Like, this is ridiculous. God, I hate this connection. I'm just keep trying to watch the little indicator to make sure. It's stabilized yet, kind of, sort of. I think it's back. All right. Yeah. It's just like, come on, man. Lance Corporal Veteran says, bought a 50-pound bag of rice back in September, left it in my washroom. Inside the box it came. I hope it didn't go bad. I need to take that and repack it. Yeah, you got try to keep it in a dry place. Obviously, you know that. Try to keep that kind of stuff in a dry place. I invested with my ridiculous tax return in I don't even know how much ammo I bought, to be honest. It was like $700 in ammo. I diversified between 9mm and 223 for my AR. And now I'm trying to stock up on food. Rice, beans, canned goods, canned vegetables, fruits. You should always have stuff like that on stock and just kind of rotate through it throughout the year. Um, but now, like, honestly, we're getting to the point now when the economy is just astronomically bad, and it's going to collapse. If we go to war, we haven't had a war in the modern day, in the modern era, like a full-fledged war against a military power. Hold on, I'll be right back. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. What was I talking about? I don't even know what to say to that. I want to just move on. Uh, Imagine just if it was Decipher. Of course, the connection dies as soon as I'm trying to speak. Come on, thing. It says, imagine all of the leftist degenerates fighting in World War III. I'd enjoy seeing it. To be honest, they deserve it. Well, there is a group of transgender people, allegedly, that are in Ukraine right now. Um, they have a little squad or trans LGBTQIAA plus whatever squad or team in Ukraine, fighting Russians apparently. I there's an image that's been floating around. You can definitely find it. Um, see if I can find this. I'm trying to find this. I don't see the image. It's but again, I can't confirm it, but I saw people posting it, and it was these transgender looking people in like militia combat gear. They had like they had like vests on and plate carriers and stuff. It looked like they actually had plates on them, and they had legit weapons and rifles and stuff. I don't know how true that image was, but it was being said that they are going to Ukraine or they're in Ukraine to fight. Send Aquamam. I really wish I had a nice soundboard. I would love to fuck around with that. Is I One of my favorites is it is ma'am, it's ma'am. It's like this really aggressive trans person. I'm like, okay, dude. All right, you're ma'am, sure, you're ma'am, but um, what else is going on? Like, I think when it comes to a lot of this stuff, people they have these worldviews where they can't process that somebody who might have their a little bit in on that situation. Like, I'm everyone who knows who I am, I'm bisexual, right? But I don't care, right? I'm not one of these people who people make jokes. They've made jokes on my life, and I'm just like I'm just my armor is so thick at this point. Like, I don't care. I think, in fact, I'll joke with you. I think it's funny, but for me, it's like I don't care. I don't wear that as like a badge or something. It's just, that's a small part of me. It's whatever. But for a lot of people, they're like, oh, I have to have these flags and I have to look like a sissy and do all this extra shit. And, I have to teach, I have to groom these kids to make them trans and let them know that it's okay to be gay. And it's like, dude, that's a 6-year old. Like, leave them alone. Like, I just don't get it. But then there's a lot of these people who, yeah, assume, oh, you should be supporting this stuff because you're my people. And I'm like, dude, like, I don't blame you at all. Like, I do not claim these people. And of course, it's cutting off as soon as I'm like going off here. But I mean, honest here, I do not claim these people. And Corporal veteran who saw the video of the American volunteer foreign fighter ran away after finding out fighting for the underdog wasn't what he thought it would be. Like not enough guns and gear. He also left because the base got bombed and was threatened to be shot. He and his guys didn't to go to Kiev unprepared by their standards, so they stuck out in an ambulance. I did not hear that, but I just this connection is pissing me off. I just want to like actually beating it up is one thing. I want to just shoot it. Like, come on. And no, I haven't heard that Lance Corporal veteran, but it doesn't surprise me. Um, like I get it. Like some people, former military, former infantry and stuff, and they feel like they wanted to be in foreign legions and because they really care about the cause. I think it should be personally. My take is foreign legions are unlawful. It is a way to skirt around ethics and international laws. If you have, let's say, 5 to 10,000 Americans decided to go to Ukraine, many, if not most, are former military infantry, Marines, and Army kind of guys, and they're fighting as a militia in Ukraine. It's like, at what point do you say that America is just involved? You've allowed 10,000 of your military trained men, assuming men. Apparently, we're sending a peppering of trans people. But 10,000 men going over there, you've sent an army, right? You know, all but a fairly small one, but you've sent an army to fight Russia. I mean, if I was Russia, I'd take that as, again, another act of war. But as far as people like bitching out and running away from the fight, um, I can't really fault them too much on that. The fact that they went there in the first place, I'm gonna voluntarily, mind you, they volunteered to go. I think that shows a level of courage that is very rare in this world. I think they're stupid, but they're courageous. And yeah, once you get there, be like, oh yeah, we're gonna do something, and then figure out that Ukraine is like a second world nation. They're not necessarily going to have American standards of military gear and supplies. I'm like, and calling Ukraine a second world nation is generous. They definitely have modern cities, just like America and the West, but they're definitely not the most wealthiest of nation. But yeah, the fact that they didn't know like what they were getting into is like, I don't know. I feel like people who just rush into combat without thinking things through are the kind of people who are just, they're not very bright. They don't have a lot of brain cells going, and maybe they're a little psychotic and they just want to kill people. Let's be honest. Infuse Sufficer says, hell yeah, bro. I literally have LGBT friends that even say the gay agenda has gone too far. They denounce a lot of the fuckery. And uh, all of the gay people I know, all the bisexual people I know, say that. I don't have any trans friends. Not really. I mean, I have people I associate with that are trans. I have a family member that's trans, but again, they're so rare. Like actual trans people are so rare. It's like most people can't really say they know any, like any meaningful way. But yeah, all the people I know, they're just like, dude, this is going too far. Like this is not right. We know it's not right. I mean, the fact that in was it in Florida, leftists and Democrats are freaking out that they passed a law that you can't teach sex ed, not regular sex ed, but really demented, weird, twisted sex ed to 4-year-olds. I don't understand why that's so unreasonable. Like, why are they so hell bent on sexualizing children? Leave them alone. I didn't get sex ed until I was in 5th grade. Yeah, I mean, I remember my dad took me and my sister to the library, grabbed some books, and had us like read through it. And I was probably 3rd grade or something, 3rd or 4th grade, and my sister was 2 years younger, 3 years younger. But yeah, officially, I didn't really learn any of that stuff, from school until I was in 5th grade, and even that was a little awkward. It's an awkward thing to learn about for sure. But the fact that you're teaching it to they're still, as far as I'm concerned, a 4-year-old's a toddler. Like when you get to 5, and like, okay, well, you're like a small child, but when you're a 4-year-old, you're a toddler. Why are you trying to teach toddlers about, like, forgive me, I have to say it, but you're teaching anal sex. Like that is a way people have sex. This is how they do it to a 4-year-old. And that's not, and I'm not, this is not an exaggeration. That's in the curriculum. That's in a lot of these curriculums where they're teaching like really graphic stuff that I'm not even sure a middle schooler needs to hear about, let alone a 4-year-old. Like these people are they're sick. They're trying to groom these children. I said, man, I used to work in an empty warehouse doing security for this facility, largely left alone except for maybe 3 customers per 12-hour shift. Best job I ever had. I became a YouTube junkie there. Uh, yeah, like I'm definitely capitalizing on this because this is probably the easiest job I've ever had. Um, and now that I'm the supervisor of the site, I get day shift, which is technically the least amount of work. I have to do a ton of paperwork and I have to sign people in and stuff, but second and third shifts actually do walking patrols. So at least they're getting exercise. I'm not, I just sit here and get fat. But yeah, 95% of my day, I can just do whatever I want for the most part. I watch movies. I've watched so many movies and TV series. I watched all of Game of Thrones in 1 week. Uh, a couple, what was it, last month? Yeah, I watched all of Game of Thrones and shit. It's just, you know, I don't know. People get jealous and they're like, "Oh, it must be nice. You just get to sit there and do nothing." I'm like, my job is the easiest job in the world until the possibility of something bad happens and I have to use my weapon. And, then it's one of the hardest jobs in the world. So, yeah, it is what it is. But any other anything coming up, anything any news story or topic or something that really interests you? Because I've pretty much seen it all. I just haven't really been making videos on it. I've seen most of this stuff. Yeah, this would now would be the time to, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, because we're going to start wrapping up here shortly. Add a new tab. Toxic feminism. People don't give respect to security, like you said. First ones on scene when everything pops off. Yep. I mean, I don't demand respect from people. Like some people get really weird and they want to like any drop of power they get, they get drunk off of. And I've been in management for most of my adult life. Like I first got promoted to a management position when I was 18. So I know like supervisor and assistant manager, manager, and my last job before this, I was a general manager. So I know the different levels, and you have power. I don't demand respect. I just treat people like equals, but it's like you understand like this is the power dynamic here. Like I'm in charge. I listen to people as much as possible. Like blah blah blah. But with security, it's weird because I almost never have to like be like, yo, like, no, what you're trying to do, I'm telling you, no, you can't do that because that's what the company wants or whatever. That's what the client wants. Like, no, you're not doing that. I never really had to assert that authority. There's only one time at a different site, one of the major shipyards in the area. Um, Guy was belligerent and drunk, and he didn't have his ID or something, and he was harassing the ID office, and I had to like physically stand there because the dude would not leave, and like, dude, you gotta go. So, but generally speaking, I haven't had any problems. But yeah, if something happens, it's the fire department's not here first, the police are not here first. We're here because that's our job. So whatever is going down is, it could go either way. It could either go fantastic if we do the right thing, or it can go completely south if we do not do the right thing. So I don't know. To me, I think it's fairly important. It's work that we don't get respect for, and um, they are. I mean, let's be honest. I think we've all seen videos and of incompetent security. A lot of people suck. But anyway, confuse the decipher. I see the Russia-Ukraine. I see the Russia-Ukraine war is at a down point right now. Seems like it will disappear almost. I think it's because I think there's two things happening. Western media keeps saying like Russia's losing, they're absolutely losing and they're gonna lose and they're gonna have to give up, and Ukraine is winning, and it's like, remember my rule: anything they tell you, assume it's the opposite. Now, I'm not saying that what they're saying is necessarily wrong. I don't believe them. And I look at it and I'm trying to like see, it's like, okay, so Russia's losing, but they're bombing the entire nation. Like they're bombing military sites and all this stuff, the entire span of Ukraine. Last few days, they've been bombing western parts of Ukraine. They've surrounded Kiev. They have basically taken every major city of any merit or note, and they're losing. Like I'm confused. I don't understand what they mean by Russia is losing. So I think if you've noticed in news cycles, what ends up happening is when you see this major push, when every headline is basically the same. Excuse me. Every headline is basically the same. There's like a cool down period. There's a day or two where there's like not much going on, or they're not reporting too much. and then that's usually because they're going to switch gears to some other major event. I seriously doubt Russia is losing at this point, despite verifiable issues they're having. Like they sent bases, super young troops in. One dude looked like he was very clearly a teenager. One of the captured guys, baby face, like right out of high school kind of look. His voice was even kind of mousy, and I was like, bro, that's a kid. It's like, why are you sending like your worst dudes in there? And I feel like that's a strategy. I feel like that's on purpose. I absolutely think that Russia has this longer game. Like I believe Putin is playing chess. He's sending the lower tiered units. If you're like a RPG or you know um, turn based strategy gamer or something, they're sending the low tiered units in, and they have like the higher tiered units back home waiting for if anything else happens. So I don't know. We're definitely not done with the Ukraine Russia thing just yet. But when it came to the biolabs and stuff, I didn't just like I don't. Okay, I mean, there's 26 American-funded biological research facilities in Russia or Ukraine that are stockpiling Soviet-era biological agents. I think it's kind of obvious that they're not interested in destroying them. Well, what else are you keeping them for in high quantities other than for a potential weapon? So I don't know. I understand where Russia's coming from. I don't think that war is a good thing, but it is what it is. Let's see. Oh wait, hold on. This one first. And Scribble Veteran says, I've been doing security for 14 years and I have a lot of stories. Some even made a deputy think I was a cop. Yeah, I do have that problem sometimes. Well, it's a problem in the sense of I don't like people being intimidated by my presence. I'm fairly tall. I'm like 6'1". I'm big as far as like fat. I don't know about strength wise, but I'm a big dude, and then you have this uniform on, and you have a shiny badge, and depending on which uniform I'm wearing, people mistake me for a police officer a lot, and it's not necessarily a good thing. It also makes you a target. Some people hate cops, and I don't want to be attacked just because they think I'm a cop. But yeah. Infused Decipher, oh, totally takes a level headed person for security, law enforcement, corrections. Seen many bad officers, but I make a point to always be the one of the best where I work. Yes, that's important. I do take my job seriously in the sense that um, the work I do have to do, I try to do it correctly. I try not to cut corners. It's like at a certain point, though, I'm sitting here 95% of my day. I'm just doing my own thing. The least I can do to, to earn this paycheck is to do the job that I'm supposed to do. Like any paperwork I'm supposed to do. If I'm supposed to go check people's IDs or whatever, I will do that. I don't really see what the issue is. Yeah, it sucks. Sometimes you got to be interrupted from something you're doing, but it's like, I'm technically supposed to be here at work anyway, so work is priority, All right. Lance Corporal Veteran says Russia is not losing. They're fighting a different war than expected. So the mindset wasn't there in the beginning, but you're now starting to see the strategies changing to a war of attrition. I agree. They're very clearly targeting the military. They're targeting some of the infrastructure, like power plants. I believe they even targeted, I think they are going after some of those biolabs, the ones they can get to, because that said, he's like, I'm trying to destroy their military. I feel like they're a military threat to Russia. I mean, whether you believe him or not, that's what he said. Hold on, I got a weirdo creeping up on me. Hold on, this looks like... Sorry about that. That was the fire marshals. Um, they, well, one was a marshal and one was an investigator because we actually had a crime committed across the street. Somebody pulled up a car right across the street from the gate, apparently, and set it on fire. Second car pulls up and they jump in it and they drive off. So I don't know what that was about, but that was the incident report. Like, so I got a phone call from one of my guys about it. So weird. But yeah, there's all kinds of stories happening, of course. Um, I've been in security since 2013 and a cop since 2000 or 2020. Sorry. Funny fact is, as a cop, people assume we're just security sometimes. Vice versa, security, law enforcement. Yeah, I'm always trying to return to security now, though, or you are trying to return it. Yeah. I mean, you're gonna get paid more, as an officer, police officer for sure, unless you are one of those elite type of security companies. I looked into a lot of that, and I thought about maybe furthering my career and becoming like a personal bodyguard type of thing. But it's tough. It's tough because a lot of these places want military experience. For the top echelons, you need like special operations experience or military intelligence, and I'm like, okay. Sometimes y'all are doing too much. Sometimes you could train people to do a job and they would do fantastic. And you're like, I understand they already have this free experience, right? But sometimes you need to train people. Worked in a government housing. The property manager would give us the keys to empty apartments. So some days it was guns up, clearing out apartments, even detained people at gunpoint a few times. Interesting. So, government housing. Interesting. So, you were private security, government contract, or but you were given the authority to enter the property for people out. I would just think that how that because I understand private property and like that kind of stuff, but because the tenants don't own the property, technically they have less right to the property, and basically, like the owner of the property owners have certain. Just a little. That's dicey. I did see a dash cam, not dash body cam video before. Really bad quality. Come on. Come on, connection. Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of companies in my area that I've seen that are definitely hiring, and it'd basically be like front desk security for a federal building. And that would pay like 20, 25 an hour. And I'm like, I don't know that I want to just sit there in front of desk. Like this is the maximum amount of freedom I'm ever going to have in my life for a job. So I'm definitely taking advantage of this. And yeah, that's a problem for me too. Not really interested in doing that. Um, yeah, I'm done with all of that crap at this point. Even private property management companies did the same thing. We would serve notice evictions 30 days prior to sheriff deputies arriving to kick out tenants. Okay. I mean, I saw a body cam video of a private security company that worked security for an apartment complex. Uh, they entered an apartment for whatever reason, and they apparently had some kind of jurisdiction, or well, it's not even jurisdiction. They just had authority to do so. They ended up shooting and killing somebody, and I think it was not a good shoot, if I remember the video correctly. And it was just like they were stumbling and bumbling, and it was like clearly they didn't have good training. They didn't know what they were doing to handle this situation. It was just like, you should not be giving low trained people certain authority positions or certain powers that they know how to deal with. It's just a tragedy is going to happen. Yeah. Well, let me see if there's any last few stories I want to talk about before I dip out. Um, oh yeah, forgot this one. I saw this one this morning. The Babylon Bee, the satire um, fake news outlet, basically. Like they just make jokes and satire. They got suspended on Twitter for calling Leah Thomas Man of the Year. I think it was Leah Thomas. Oh no, I'm sorry, wrong trans person. It was the Admiral Rachel Levine. Now, if you know, Rachel Levine is the shit. What is Admiral Rachel Levine is like a honor admiral uh, of what government thing? Rachel, Assistant Secretary for Health. Assistant Secretary of Health. Now, I believe Admiral Levine is actually a doctor, pediatrician, so a medical doctor, and was given a 4-star admiral position, or it's basically honorary. United States Public Health Service Commission Corps. Anyway, so Babylon Bee was making a joke, and they said that because Rachel Levine has been nominated as Woman of the Year, they're saying that this is Man of the Year, and they got suspended from it. It just shows the censorship is just an all-time. I'm not allowed to say anything anymore. Yep, that is true. Oops. All right. All right, this connection is completely dying. Oh yeah, that's just yeah, hell no. I don't I don't trust people now. Like I have one guy who's like I don't even know. I think he's Navy Reserves and he's one of the armed guards here and he's like having an issue with his gun and racking it back and one of the problems is that when you rack the same round and like re-put it in the chamber after a while it starts depressing and I don't think I have any because I always keep one in the chamber. But anyway, the company policy is if you're leasing one of the company weapons, when you're transporting it, it needs to be unloaded and all that stuff. No round in the chamber. So yeah, this one is basically the same. Basically, if you know anything about weapons, like if you keep racking back the same round to the chamber day after day, it starts depressing and malfunctioning the actual bullet. And yeah, it would get jammed in there. And I'm just like, he's struggling. I'm like, dude, you got to rotate your rounds if you're going to do that. And he's like, I just can't get it. It's jammed. So I took his weapon just like really quick. And I'm like, whatever. All right. Okay. But yes. So I appreciate everybody watching. This has been a pretty long stream, almost 2 hours here. But I do appreciate everyone watching as usual. And yeah, if there's anything, I always try to tell people like when I take these hiatuses, like I didn't really post anything for a week at least. You're more than welcome to reach out. If you want to talk or hang out or chat or drop stories, give me anything. All of that is in the description below. All of my contact information. Um, Gilded Gilded is usually where I'm at now. It's pretty dead in there to be honest, but that's like the easiest way for you to get in contact with me is through Gilded because it's like it's my own little private open platform, like social media group basically, and it's free speech. Like you say whatever you want, I don't care, and I'm pretty much gonna leave it. Just don't say anything illegal or post like gore or something without the since not safe for work tags and blurring it or whatever. But other than that, like yeah, I'm always around. I'm not suicidal. What did Jussie Smollett say? I'm not suicidal. That's the last thing I guess we'll with that. Jussie Smollett only spent 6 days in jail for some bullshit. Like the damage he caused to racial relations in America is ridiculous. Thank you. Come again. I don't know that you can. I do direct message it through YouTube. That I'm aware of. I know you can just respond to people's um, posts, but as far as I know, they don't have DMs on YouTube. But again, you're more than welcome to use Gilded. It's basically a better Discord, better than Discord. It has way more options and features. It's free. You don't even have to download it, to be honest. You could use it through the browser. I mean, you could do that with Discord too. I mean, if you want to download it, you're more than welcome. And you just join the link, and then you're free to do whatever. Hang out, post stuff, talk shit, hang out in the voice chat and the video chat, play video games, whatever. So that's it. That's all I have for you all today. One final thing. I know I just keep it's always like that. Oh, one more thing. I highly recommend you watch the channel Lionel Nation. It is a 60-something-year-old man. He has little tiny, black circle glasses. Lionel Nation. He is one of the most highly intelligent people I've ever seen on YouTube. Dude, his perspective is just amazing, and he has that kind of like old man vibe already. I mean, he's technically an old man, but he's not like ancient. But he's about in his early 60s, I think, and he has that old man vibe of like how he tells stories, and he's just kind of got the old man voice, and it's endearing. It's like listening to grandpa. It's like listening to grandpa, and he is super intelligent. Highly recommend Lionel Nation. Other than that, I am out. I'm out. So thank you again, and I will see you all next time. Oh wait, in that.